Nailed it. Nom, 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 nom,
This
nom,
is
nom, nom, nom.
definitely FroYo.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Mm.
We
It
are
was
FroYo
frozen.
with a fork. It was Fro.
We all went yo when we talked about it.
Yeah.
I went yo when I ate it for the first time.
Yo.
Yo. I quite like it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Uh-oh.
where to put it.
Uh-oh.
John's in trouble.
There you go.
John's in trouble. Condor.
Condor calls for aid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
Sorry.
No, we took it in 2 different directions.
Honk.
Thank you. Cheers. Yes.
Oh, I
Tea,
didn't
coffee, and
update.
wine.
It still says that we're episode 11.
Oops. Let's fix that.
Yeah. I think we can-
Reboot.
To defend and mend.
Mend and defend.
So close.
To defend
Mend
my
our
newfound
newfound
friends, their hopes and dreams. To defend them from their
Our
enemies.
enemies.
Schemes. Oh.
Oh.
Never mind.
That's impressive because I feel like I watched a good amount of Reboot, but I definitely don't remember that. Actually, I must not have because there
Beginning
were.
of every episode.
No, I know, but then there was a whole season that I clearly missed because I was like, "Whoa, why'd everyone get so hot?" Like there was stuff that happened that I was
that
like,
was like
"What?"
there was a couple year break, and then
Yeah.
they did season 4, and it was a nice conclusion.
Yeah,
Was
exactly.
reboot the source of your sexual awakening?
Probably.
Absolutely
Oh,
not, because
Andrea was
I
really
associated
hot.
it with like a friend of the family who was the producer of it.
Oh,
Oh.
dear. Oh dear.
Yeah. So like, it had no sexual connotations. to me.
I see.
I was Andrea for Halloween one year,
Nice.
back when she was like the kid sprite.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah, it was like black pants, black tank top with a little clay, like plasticine, whatever that not clay stuff is that you
Plasticine?
make. Yeah, plasticine.
plasticine.
Make
Reboot.
it.
You got censored?
I don't
Fuck,
see
I
that.
forgot that I mean this window was here an hour ago.
Why?
Yeah,
maybe
we saw
you
it.
have your own chat on moderate save mode,
No,
or
this
maybe our
this has
alert.
something is weird.
Well, it's highlighted because we were,
Because it's a
Yeah,
highlighted
it's
message
subscribed,
on the
yeah.
subscribe.
Oh,
but it's possible that on the sub like display on.
I don't know if
screen,
you were allowed to swear in a highlighted message.
Yeah.
Interesting.
overlay. Yeah, so that's fair. I kind of appreciate that. Because
sure
as much as you're
weirdness.
great, random people coming in who are like, I will spend 1 cent on 1 bit and say all kinds of obscenities.
Oh yeah, so no bueno.
Yeah.
But this means Young Fantasy got to share it when everyone was here, which is
Yeah.
good. This is good news.
Need to give like a permit list. If you are on this list of people, you can say anything you want in sub or donation messages.
Oh my goodness.
And then they
Anything.
push the bar, push the
Envelope?
Our TV turned off.
Why is the television off?
Oh dear.
No.
It's okay, everyone. We're not gonna panic. We can't see you anymore.
What
You
the hell?
wiggle the HDMI cable on
Yeah,
the
just
side?
I want to make sure we're like
Ah.
Oh, we're back.
We're good.
that was strange.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to. Oh, I can't because it was his subscription message.
You can't like you can't highlight it
I
or
can't
whatever?
highlight a subscription message.
Oh, hello.
Pukajutsu says, "Are we fucking swearing in here?"
No, I don't tolerate that shit.
It's the avatar for Pook here that's really it's really selling it for me. How angry he is. Oh well.
It is still my favorite avatar.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Yeah, I would,
I cannot.
despite having ones of my own face.
I do not think that there could be
do
a
agree.
better emote than PKJ Blank.
So good.
It's really fantastic.
Language.
Langage.
Fuck. Shit.
This is what we do on FroYo sessions, by the way. We eat Fro, no yo, and we say
Curse words.
curse words. Yeah.
Dinglehopper.
Sounds like a Magic the Gathering card.
Dinglehopper?
It does.
I
It
mean,
sounds like
John
goblins.
started a
It's like
cult and he's
unique
been
goblins
trying to
of
get
fork.
his cultists to eat poopy.
When was the last time you saw The Little
Cacao.
Mermaid?
Bones.
Like
Dinglehopper
20
snort
years
flat?
ago. What do you mean? I didn't watch it recently. I haven't watched it. Ooh. Well, goodness, what are those, Kate?
Why, they're dice.
nailed
They're
it.
10-sided dice.
Woo! Oh
Um,
yeah, right. Those are mostly empty.
These are handcrafted, absolutely gorgeous 10-sided dice by NFL, who is here in chat. And if you find, if you could drop in that link to your Twitter, if you follow and retweet, you have a chance to get a whole lot of money towards the shop. Enough for a whole fucking set of these gorgeous dice. That's right, I'm swearing too. But yeah, they're beautiful. Some of them are already sold out because they are so beautiful. Like this one with embedded flowers, which I am so obsessed with.
It's so cool.
But last I checked, this one, which is relatively translucent with gold lettering, but like shimmery, rainbowy little fractally bits inside as well. #obsessed. This one was still in stock last I checked. I think this green and purple one was also still in stock. And a few others. But yes, beautiful.
Yeah, there's all sorts of... I think what I appreciate as well is that, like, it's not just like, here's a dye color. You know, it's like, here's a feeling.
Here's a
encapsulated in a D10. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because, when I was thinking about what I wanted to get when I backed, I was like, what kind of characters do I play? What feelings will I evoke with these D10s, you know? So I went with... I guess we're going to find out right now what I think my characters are. Hey, thanks.
Also, they rolled super well for me.
Right. This is like evil necromancer
I
to me.
mean, we had some really good rolls and some really not good rolls, so it also means that they aren't completely broken, right?
This is true.
Correctamundo.
I'm trying to see whether it's time for me to up my subscription because there's a hype train going.
Oh, choo-choo.
Choo-choo.
And it is
It's
not.
not.
Ah. Well, that's disappointing.
It is
Thank
September.
you folks for hype training. Yes.
Yay!
For whatever that's worth. So this is our FroYo. Who wants to say what a FroYo is? Liz does. On the spot. Let's
Yeah,
go.
great. So a FroYo is basically like a debrief. Once a campaign is concluded, then we sit around and we kind of like just reminisce. We talked about stuff that we loved. Sometimes we talk about stuff that we didn't love so much. Sometimes we play some games, some what ifs, and it's an opportunity for the audience, if we stream our FroYo, to ask questions as well, and we will answer maybe.
Yeah.
And usually we have FroYo, but today we have cake.
Yeah.
FroYo being frozen yogurt.
Right.
Yes.
For those,
who are not hipping with it.
I definitely was not hipping with it for a long time.
Also,
was
for those
frozen
of you
cake.
who English is your second language.
Oh, that's also
so
a good point,
like
yeah.
weird acronyms or like
Might not be
shortenings for
particularly useful, yeah. Yeah, it's a send-off. A look back, a look forward, look around the table, as it were. You see what I did there? Okay. Oh, under the table. Oh, around the icy. Okay.
Yeah. Fro real.
Whoa,
For
Featured
real.
Chat now has an OBS doc URL so that you can doc Featured Chat.
Oh, it's nice.
Whoa.
Cool.
That's pretty cool. But
Everything's confusing. There's lots of new stuff, and I'm not up.
John's eyeballs have just become OBS logos. He's
not
getting
sponsored.
excited.
Oh, boy.
folks, if you have questions, all you need to do is type an exclamation mark and a Q and then a space. The Q being the letter, not the word. We've had several UK people.
Right.
QUE.
Well, because they're
or
queuing
CUE,
to ask
yeah,
a question, right? Like, it's legit.
So you can always ask questions that way.
Thank you.
And they kind of automatically get put into my little
It's a good question.
list here, which then I can pull up for the questions. So I guess the first thing that I'm going to toss out to the three of you is this is a Changeling campaign that you were playing in alongside a Changeling campaign that you're running on Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a feeling of kind of going from being Changeling the streaming as a player to then running a game for a year on Discord to going back to being a player again? Did you find that it made you approach this campaign differently?
I'd like to think I did, but I'm not sure that I was any better of a player. I feel like I was definitely more familiar with certain rules off the top of my head from having been an ST for a year. There are also some that, as I mentioned, I think last session, I programmed it into the bot and forgot because the bot does the math for me.
Yep.
So,
A little bit of both.
I definitely felt more comfortable building a combat-focused character this time around. I never rolled. I barely rolled defense and soak, and I certainly never rolled like brawl or melee rolls in CTS because Sophia was all about them cantrips. So thanks to Disconcordia, that gave me a lot more comfort in that area, and so it felt like I could be a character who fought sometimes, as evidenced by last week's session.
It's true.
Especially.
Yeah, absolutely. I think kind of in contrast, just to take my answer in a slightly different direction as well, I feel like the biggest kind of impact on being a player in Changeling Riverwild was that the setting generally of Changeling the Dreaming was much more familiar, which was both very useful. I know what I'm getting myself into. I know what the tone of the game or the world is, but also perhaps a little burnt out on the universe a little bit as we were playing. I was kind of like, oh, I've seen that before recently, right? That being any feeling that I get. Whereas CTS, everything was kind of new and exciting, right? That's how it always is.
I can definitely see that. I mean, we chose this game knowing that it was, we weren't aiming for this to be like the 150 episode juggernaut. We chose it because we wanted to make sure that we were getting back into a regular campaign, because we had just done a whole lot of one shots, and then we also played The King's Dilemma, which, while a ton of fun,
I loved it. Yeah,
was still not a strict role-playing game. It was a legacy board game instead. So there is a certain amount of we're going back to something that we were comfortable with. Do you find that maybe that's the sort of thing that you want to focus on in the future? Like, make sure that something feels fresh and new? Does that make you less likely to want to play a game that you've played before?
It's a really interesting question, because I think it is well, at least for me, it's a double-edged sword. Being really familiar with something is so incredibly valuable. Like one's lines in a play, if you're really familiar with them, you don't have to think about them. You can just do other stuff, like act. So knowing the mechanics of a game, for me, it's really useful to go, wait, can I actually do this thing that I'm about to try to do? Can I justify it some way? Or not, without having to think too much about it. Flip side, though, the feeling of throwing yourself into a new place with new rules, it kind of engenders again, in me at least, a sense of wanting to take risks and be like, I don't know if I can do this. Maybe I'm gonna die. let's try it. I don't know. It's a little intense, but
is that something that you also find, the concept of, if I know the rules backwards and forwards, then I can focus on other things?
Yeah, for sure. And I think we also, for me, serving as an ST for Disconcordia, knowing how I would rule certain situations, certain bunks, cantrips, whatever, kind of gave me a jump start into this new campaign as well, because I would go over things and I'm like, if I were an ST, would I allow that? Or is there a way that I can tweak this to make it a more interesting story? Because if I were an ST, I was sort of putting my little ST hat on, which actually I thought was helpful. Just like how I think it's useful that actors be stage managers at least once in their lives.
Yeah,
it's
agreed.
like, it's really important to get a view of how other people experience
do their work. Yeah.
Okay, so let me challenge you back on that.
Sure.
If you're constantly putting your ST hat on, does that mean that then you are focusing less on being a player and trusting the storyteller, and more, I'm trying too hard to be...
I'm self-policing?
Yeah, you're self-policing, as opposed to perhaps just letting yourself be out there and trusting that someone else will be able to pull you back.
I don't think so. I think it was... I feel like it was a positive rather than a restriction in this case, because I still think that I had the impetus to ask you and ask you to make rulings on things on a regular basis. But I just think that stuff that stuff that in CTS I would be like, oh, can I do this? And then I'd ask you, and maybe you would say no, and then I would spend the next 5 minutes wondering why I can't. Whereas now that I've been an ST, it's a lot easier for me to understand why the answer to some things is no. I guess that's what I'm kind of saying.
It did also feel, to me anyway, like a more collaborative experience. And I don't mean that in a sense of like the previous campaigns didn't feel collaborative at all. I was led around by the nose by John the whole time. Like, obviously not. I just mean that it did feel a little bit like Riverwild. We were kind of all, not even equally, but like involved in the telling of the story in a way that was different from a usual dynamic, which I kind of enjoyed. I'm not saying that it's better or that I'd want to do it again. It's just different. It's interesting.
Kate, were you an athlete in school?
Heck no.
Would you consider you're an athlete today?
Heck no.
Would any of you consider yourselves athletic?
No.
Or like, did you take part in sport?
Sport, no.
I was involved in sport in 6th grade briefly, because all my other friends were.
People
it.
kept making me try out for basketball.
But in 6th grade, I was like the same height as all my other classmates, and then I stayed that same height forever. I literally stopped growing at like 12 or 13.
Oh dear.
So,
Oh boy.
yeah, I was okay at basketball, but it was not a sport I was looking to pursue.
And yet you created a character who was a professional athlete.
Yeah. Because, it was
Because it's role-playing, John.
Yeah. Well, no, but we picked the freehold that was the sportsy freehold, and I wanted to pick someone who had a reason to be there beyond just hanging out because it happened to be a freehold. Like, if I were...
Exactly.
But, I don't know, it was something that I felt was important for me as a choice. I wanted to pick someone that matched the brief. If the brief was, you're in a she-run freehold where you swim in a glittering pool, then I would probably not have made this character.
Which came first, the name Det or the name Gordet?
Gordet.
Nice.
And then you just shortened it.
Yeah.
And
really like
why
that.
did you pick the name Gordet?
Because it was the most generically Canadian name I could think of.
Amazing.
Gordet Douglas. Like every famous Canadian is called Gord. I'm sorry.
No, it's fair.
There are a lot of them. So, not every, but many. But yeah.
In the sports and music community, I think in particular, there's like a number of famed Canadians that go by Gord specifically. It's of a specific generation as well, which is anyway.
Yeah.
I loved that. I do also appreciate though, Kate, that you wanted to make it like not a secret, but like Det was like I don't that's not my name. It says that on my birth certificate, but that's not what I don't put it on my shirt, or my jersey.
Where'd the name Mickle come from?
I honestly don't know. I was just like staring at my character sheet because I'd left the line blank for so long, and I just started like Scott wasn't there, and I just started talking to myself, saying different combinations of sounds out loud, and I said Mickle, and I went nice.
Shit fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck shit.
Fuck balls.
Yeah.
Mickle. Oh. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Great. I like 2-syllable words. No, actually, that's a lie. I often choose 1-syllable names for my characters without meaning to, and so I challenged myself to choose 2 syllables. And so that was like the restriction I put on myself. Whatever name it is, gotta be 2 syllables, Liz. I don't know.
Scott?
Yeah.
Burble?
I am still very pleased. I feel like it's at the confluence of like a word that sounds positive and a word that sounds like a boggin name. It's just like for me, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted a name that was like, if you know Changeling, that's a boggin. And to me, that's what that name evokes, is someone who's like bubbly and like a babbling brook. It's just, it made me very happy.
So we have a couple of questions from the audience. We'll just throw them out there. I actually forgot to turn the queue on until a little later on. So the first 2 questions, you'll see the exclamation mark queue. After that, it won't. Gilligan asks, first question, which I assume is on everyone's mind, a whole campaign with no fade to black, not even a kiss. explain yourselves.
I'll start. Pocket sand, front quit the stream.
Phew.
Yeah. I don't know if
You
I
said
can,
you'd
honestly.
start.
Oh, I did say I'd start. I didn't. I wanted my character to be a matchmaker. Matchmaker. Make me a match, not matchmaker. Okay, the point of the joke I was trying to make there is that he doesn't get made into matches. He makes the matches. You see what I'm saying? That's why none for me. And I tried. I pushed it.
You did.
I pushed them dreaming meet cutes. Thank you.
I was going to make some kind of excuse like, oh, well, we didn't really have enough episodes to get, but that is a lie. It's frankly a lie. We've had kisses and FTBs before.
It was like
Before
episode
10 eps
6
before. I think it was 5 or 6, when Ray and Ember kissed for the first time.
I demand first episode.
Same thing with
FTV
CTS.
section.
It was like around there that we had penance.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
That was me too. Huh?
Whoops.
Yeah.
So yeah, it didn't take us long, and then here.
Wait a minute, it is you. It's
This time I
you.
wasn't playing a social character. Her character worked against her ability for
There were
smooches.
just other priorities, I feel.
Yeah, like sport.
What about you? What about you, John?
Yeah.
I feel like you tend to enjoy introducing. Well, hang on. This is kind of segue into a slightly different topic, but like we wanted to have a freehold of people to interact with on our downtime, to be like, oh, it's like a little downtime moment. Let's have a social scene with this person. Were those characters kind of created with the goal of romance in mind?
I will say this bluntly, I never create a character with their goal being, I hope that somebody dates this character.
I hope the BC hooks up with me. That's fair.
I will sometimes, the only vague exception to that is that Kyoko, I knew that Kyoko had a thing for Brahm because you had taken the amnesia flaw and I was going to fuck with you as much as I possibly
100
could.
as you should.
So I don't create characters being like, well, this is going to be the Burble character. This will be the Det character. I instead create characters, and I kind of hope that I create enough of a range that somebody might be interesting. Now, I definitely am sometimes surprised when people lock onto a character and they're like, oh, this person's hot. And I'm like, I didn't...
What?
I didn't try to make them hot. Brevin?
Nice. I mean, that was intended to always be it always felt like a rivalry that's like
It was intended to get under your skin.
Yeah.
For sure.
yeah,
Getting
under
got
my
under your clothes.
pants. Exactly.
You got
Hello.
on your skin.
Oh.
Oh. Right.
It's a lot less attractive than
So-
it sounds, yeah.
Like, for instance, in this game, people started raising their half seconds to Genwi. And at first I'm like, oh, well, she's she, you know, like people are going to be like, oh, she's attractive. And then I was like, oh, no, this is, it felt like it was more than that. And that was like, huh. Okay. But it was only towards the end that you actually used your birthright.
It's true. I didn't feel... I kind of, in my mind, I had built it up as like this tool that I was like, I'm only going to pull this out when I know that there's like romance in the air and I'm going to use it to make something happen. And as the sort of episodes progressed, it was like, well, you know, we're starting to build relationships with these characters, but like maybe I should give a little kick in the caboose, push something along, see what happens.
Nuge.
A nuge, as it will. Exactly.
So I don't think that I could rightfully say on my end that I was avoiding making sure that I could hook up with anybody. But I think that this is kind of proof that at least my gaming style is that I don't want to try to force romances on anybody. I'd rather that they come out naturally, that they come out organically, and then I think they matter a lot more than I feel like if I was just like, so, Det, you walk into a room and Crow is lying on your bed and he is naked, surrounded with flowers, and he's like, do me.
There are a few steps that one usually takes before this one.
I'm very socially awkward.
I can tell.
Oh dear.
It's okay.
That's
I'll hold it against you. She.
I do kind of
too weak to push the sheet off him.
regret not having made a point of getting to know certain NPCs around Jan's better, including Jan himself, but also Themis. I wish I could think of an excuse to be like, hey, I'd like to talk to Themis for a minute and like just have a conversation.
And not just be like, how's it going?
How's it going? Yeah, exactly. Like, what, that would be cool. So I think I wish I had either created some, like put more thought into what kind of conversations have we had in the past? So what do we enjoy talking about together? And then I could have initiated a conversation like that. Or if we don't know each other that well, what about her, like, intrigues me that I might want to? So I kind of wish that I'd, like, considered the NPCs more, to have more of those moments.
How about the rest of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to, I think that's well said, and I tend to agree. I think I will probably, if there is a question about it later, so I'll hold off on this, but there was several very briefly introduced NPCs that I was like, if this was a game where we were, like, if we were playing more sessions and had, more story arcs, I would make a point of being like, let's go back to that freehold and talk to that person. I think that character has a wealth of story of interaction, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but it just, in the moment, it doesn't, I also couldn't justify having those kinds of scenes without having a goal in mind for those scenes.
Well, I think that part of that might be because we knew that this was a campaign that wasn't designed to necessarily have an indefinite length. That we sort of, like, the way that we decided to do this, I mean, I mentioned this earlier, but it was because we wanted to do something that felt like a campaign, but we didn't necessarily want to commit to being like, this is going to be our, like, this is the campaign that we're going to be pouring our next dozen arc into. And I wonder whether that meant that there was a bit more focus on the plot as opposed to that, like, okay, well, we can just sit back and relax and talk to people and just go around, because it was like, well, no, there's a thing and things are happening and we got to fix the thing.
We got to do the thing. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
It's true, because in CTS there would be moments where, like, we would just end up in the exhaust and we would just be chatting over, like, English muffins.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really a lot of that this time, and if it was, it sort of felt like we were filling time because there was one other person who was having a conversation that was more plot adjacent. And so we were just like, we were creating extra flavor off to the side, So yeah, that's true. We were very plot focused this time.
I'm going to tack onto that, if I may.
Yeah.
The idea of, like, scenes in the exhaust, or, I mean, it's been a staple of all of our campaigns up to this point, but having those kind of casual conversations, for me, when there's a natural moment for them, great, but I also need to be comfortable enough in my character's values, goals, hopes, dreams, things he does, pet peeves, whatever, that when I have a scene where I'm just like, oh, it's just me and Incisor, I'm going to use a CTS example, I know what I probably want to try to get out of Incisor, or at least what I'm hoping to avoid. Yeah. There's a scene to play. Do you know what I mean? Right? As opposed to needing to be like, well, I don't know my character so well yet that I can afford to have a conversation with this person without a plot point in mind.
So one thing that we don't do, that a lot of games these days are suggesting that you do, is we don't pre-establish relationships. And I could have been like, okay, well, here are the 5 people who live at this freehold, or who are often at this freehold. And we can discuss very briefly what that means. So, like, it could have something like, okay, so Mikkel and Themis have they have a friendly rivalry going. What's it about? They both try to see how many times they can make Jan forget what he was going to say. Right? Like, and then just be like, there, done. So now we have a point of reference that we can start with. And I think that there's two different ways of going about it. Sometimes I think it's very, very nice to be like, I don't have a pre-existing relationship with this person. I can just come up with whatever I want. And then you're also not locked into something when after a while you're like, wow, now I've seen Themis in play for a while. She's kind of a jerk. Maybe I wouldn't want to have my character act this way. But I also think that there's something very useful about saying like, no, we are going to establish some relationships in advance so that it's sort of like in improv, you don't walk in and it's not like every time you walk in, you're like, I don't know you, sir. You don't know me, ma'am. Right? Like you just walk on and you're like, oh yeah, I'm your friend Dave. And you're like, oh, of course, Dave from the thing. And you're like, yeah, I'm from the thing. And like you're yes-anding it.
Yeah.
And I don't think yes-anding is the exact thing that you want to go for, but I wonder whether we would have benefited from that.
Yeah, I think like in Exaltwitch, Nexus, and kind of in Academy, actually, I can't remember, but like at least in Nexus, we'd never met before. So us trying to get to know ourselves and each other, that worked totally fine and organically. And then in Changeling, maybe we just lucked out and like we established some really loose things like, oh, Sophia has hired Patches to renovate her apartment before, and like we know Brom because he works in the building and he's around.
He cleans the shit out.
It just happened to work. And then in this case, I think we were like, oh, we should know each other quite well. But we don't, and we're not as comfortable faking it as we were in CTS.
Interesting.
There was like something about that. So I wonder if maybe we needed to compensate a little bit by talking about it more, by creating some links.
That's my secret, Cap. I'm always compensating.
The secret of RPGClinic comes out. Hello, Neophet.
Because I will say that like you did prepare us a sheet of like known NPCs, and I found that fantastic.
Yeah.
That's something you had done for CTS, which was great. And so I guess I went in feeling like I knew the NPCs, even if my character didn't necessarily. But I had also established a character who works at Yen's, so theoretically would be familiar with these people, even if not friendly.
Right.
So I don't think that was something holding me back personally.
We have a couple more questions, but I do want to point out one comment that was made here because it's sort of along the lines of what we just discussed. Kung Fu Fenris says, you have amazing NPCs, John, 2 amazing for short games.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether that's actually something that is a fault of mine and not a, like, because I don't think that Kung Fu Fenris is trying to, like, bring me down. I think he's trying to pay me a compliment.
Yeah.
But is it bad if I'm like, well, here are these NPCs. They are clearly more fleshed out than we could possibly get to in the context of a short game.
Actually, as opposed to just here's a stereotyped,
here's the commander.
Exactly.
Hi, I'm the commander. I command you to kill the terrorists.
Oh no! Yeah, that's it.
I have no other. Like, I have a wife. She left me 6 days ago.
6 days ago.
I also
Yeah.
stayed 6 days ago.
Yeah.
Do you have something on the mind? Have I got a
I've
blessing
spent
for
too
you?
long in the sex mines.
I don't know. I mean, it could also just be seen as a challenge to us, like you're playing, like you introduce 4 NPCs that all have such like rich lives and are so like developed, and like, the challenge to us is to find a way to make our own characters as developed, and then find a way to link them. I mean, I guess I wouldn't ever suggest that you, I don't know. I think such a great thing about your NPCs is how like 3-dimensional they are. And if you were building them at the same time we were getting comfortable with ours, I don't know. Maybe some world building would suffer as a result. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I don't think I want generic NPCs. Like, I don't think that's the solution to the problem.
You want the sex mines commander as opposed to just the go do a thing commander.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what the sex mines are.
No, neither do I.
But now we have to find out, right?
So I mean, the Crosshair mentions here in game designer terms, even if you make a free-to-play mobile game, you do the work at the same quality as with a AAA super budget game, and that is absolutely not true. Not in my experience.
And F2P mobile.
Sometimes it depends on how much money you can throw at the problem, and sometimes it's just like, we got to get this shit out.
Yeah.
Don't pay attention to it. Go. And I think that there's often a desire to be quality at the start, and I think that some of the difference between AAA and not AAA is that AAA has the money to be like, well, let's wait until we find that quality, and some indie studios or like free-to-play mobile studios are like, let's be quality. Nope. Let's go.
Wait, when
Let's
is this
be
game
as
coming out?
much
Yeah.
quality as you can manage in 3 weeks. Go.
Thank you. But that translates well to the games too, right? Sometimes we have the opportunity to hang around and have a session where we just are kind of like, well, while we wait for Jork to come back from that ill-fated trip to the fairies, why don't we all just chat and get to know each other, whatever it is, right? That's a bad example, but
I'll say that creating characters is probably my greatest strength.
That makes sense.
I would
Like,
agree with
It's
that,
definitely a strength, if not.
Yeah.
I create characters and like flesh them out and create hooks very quickly. I'm not going to say that I'm like the best at it, but I know that I'm very fast. So even if it is a game that I'm like, well, we're only going to be playing like this, for the next 6 weeks or whatever, I can come up with a character that's like, no, I got all the hooks right here, and they don't have to be like, you don't need them. It's not like the characters that I sometimes see where someone will be like, I've got this dark backstory. It's so dark. It's darker than dark. It's Vanta Black backstory.
Ooh.
everyone's already walked away.
And everyone's like, okay. But then you're like, and it's going to be a secret. Except I'm going to spoil the secret in the second episode because I can't hold my wad.
Well, if you don't have anything else, right? Like, what
That's
do you supposed to do?
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I spent all this time writing this dark backstory. So I have this dark backstory.
Yeah, it's literally the only thing that you have at that
Posted it on
point.
the wall.
So, and Kung Fu Fenris says, I think you may have to adjust content and scope. And with the amount of content, it might be one of the reasons why I was surprised we were ending so soon. So we ended partially because we have something very exciting that we want to do, right?
Yeah.
But we also knew that we needed to take a break.
Yeah.
Truth.
We don't take breaks as often as we maybe should.
Yeah, I would.
Oh,
Oh.
Oh,
You
God.
all right, bud?
something cracked.
Oh,
geez.
no, it's-
We
is that
lost him. Get
exploded?
And
him.
he never spoke again.
Never jawed again.
It's. I will say this. I think that you have to let the game breathe a little bit. If you think that it might go on for a long time, you can't kind of run 2 sessions and be like, nope, it's not working. Fuck it, and like
No legs.
chuck it.
Yeah.
But I do think that you can figure out after a certain amount of time whether it's like this game has legs or this game doesn't. And I feel like for me, and I'm kind of curious about your opinions, and we'll get to the audience questions too. Like, I still got them. They're still on that list. I felt like I was having fun, but the combination of it being Changeling, which we were already kind of enmeshed with as well, and the way the game was sorting out, I was like, I don't see this as being like, oh yeah, I'm in for 80 more episodes of this thing. I was like, this is good. This is not, I'm not going to feel like I'm going to be disappointed if we decide to do something else. How about you?
For me, I was. I chose the character I chose to challenge myself. And I think that she was going in an interesting direction, and I had some moments with her that I really liked. But some things that I didn't flesh out include her goals, her relationships to the other PCs, her NPCs. Like, there were some things that I was just kind of leaving ambiguous because I thought it would help to discover along the way. But what ended up happening is because it was already a character and a personality type that was very hard to play. It meant that, like, I was waiting for a click to happen where I got the character, and for me that usually, if the character has staying power, that usually happens about 3 or 4 episodes in, and it didn't happen in this case. It still felt like putting effort in. And maybe it would have happened after 15, 20 episodes. Maybe it wouldn't have. But yeah, I think that's what happened to me. Like, it was like, I was pleased with the amount that we put out. But it didn't have the same staying power as some of the other ones.
Go for it. Do you have any
I felt the universe was great. Going back to you making great NPCs, I was really excited by the various freeholds in the city, the various NPCs that we had full briefs on, and the hints that were included with the briefs about the other freeholds. But I do feel like there was a lack of sort of direction on this side of the table. From myself, and I think maybe from all of us, like, other than there's a problem, let's solve it. I think that, I also didn't have a goal, and like, my goal was like, encourage people to sports. Like, it's not enough of a goal, right?
So to quote one of the greatest lyricists of our time, if there was a problem, you'll solve it. Check out your non-existent hook, because the DJ can't revolve it.
Yes. Something like that.
You're the DJ here, right? Yeah, okay. No!
He is the DJ.
Okay, very good. DJ John in the house. Yeah. I don't disagree with what's been said. I think these are excellent points. I also similarly I created a character that was exciting to me. And then, I think similarly, Liz, that's a really good way of describing it. I just hadn't... we were talking about vanilla earlier. Sorry. I also didn't kind of hook into what I thought I was going to hook into, which is funny because there's so many elements of Burble who are just me. Like, so many things about it are just like, I would do that. That's what I would do. Hang on a second. I'm also passionate about that thing. And yet there wasn't, I guess it's the place where how you interact with the character and make decisions for the character comes into contact with the world and what there is to do in it. Now, the answer to that is like everything. You can do anything in the world that you're in. But it didn't feel like I could do what I wanted. I was lacking like science vocabulary. I was lacking like tools,
I mean, one of the things that I'm going to point out is, as much as we're being reflective here and we're kind of like figuring out where we might have gone not ideal, I also don't feel like we're being like, well, that was a total failure.
Oh, no.
Like, absolutely not.
It's
right?
just why we chose to conclude it.
Yeah. And also knowing that not everything has to be perfect all the time, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to look back and try to figure out what we're going to do again in the future, right? And I know that the audience is with that as well. I just wanted to make sure that that's clear to anybody who's listening out there on YouTube land or whatever. We're always going to be looking back and trying to figure out what we could do better next time. And I'm somebody who honestly thinks that if you can't think of anything that you could do better next time, then you're not looking hard enough. The Crosshair has a question.
Okay.
Just throwing that hashtag Chaos Bunny Q in there. What didn't you get to do, and how much did it miff you? I kind of love the fact that we're using the word miff.
Yep, big fan. I can say I didn't get to, or I didn't, Burble did not get to have, he didn't get to, I'm trying to phrase this properly, sorry. He didn't get to inspire someone to dream through science. Very specifically, and that's something I was like, this is the hook for my character, and I didn't even try to do it. Don't know what happened. But that was something that excited me. Go ahead, sorry.
Two things for me. Ask Jen We out on a date. And Mikkel had a flaw. Don't mention it. Which is basically if a certain topic is mentioned, she has to like roll willpower to avoid like attacking the person immediately. Because it's a very triggering topic for her. And in this case, it was her chrysalis. And that never got mentioned, but I'm also kind of grateful because I never I have a sense of what happened that she wants to forget, but like, yeah, that could have been, I didn't see her get really mad. That could have been a challenge.
It's mostly just the nature of this being a short little campaign, but there are a lot of aspects of Cathane society that I didn't get to explore through this character. Things like me using Ravaging Antithesis, my legacies, further higher tiers in the arts that I was looking to explore, like all of those other things that you dig into in a longer campaign. So there are just aspects that I didn't get to explore.
Right.
That's kind of where it's at for me. But like, I mean, I made a sports character and I got to sports and I got to save sports. So like, to some extent, like
Sports.
Sorry.
The core of it got dealt with, but all the rest around it, not so much.
So I'm going to answer this question as well because I feel like it's legit. I was kind of curious about, now maybe I'm misreading things. It's very possible. But what I was seeing was a potential love triangle developing between PCs, which we hadn't seen. And I wonder whether that was something. Do you disagree, or?
Well, I don't know. There was a little bit of space of silence, and there were a bit of some of
yeah,
that with
that's
Academy as well. But
That's
anyway.
a good point.
But like, I don't think I'd ever seen two people be like, I'm interested, and going for a character at the same time, specifically. Now, I could be wrong. You seem to disagree.
Well, as I said, that was She Struck, and then she got a meet cute. But like if we pick up from where we left off, it would be like, great, let's be friends. And like, it doesn't mean that it couldn't develop from there, but it definitely wasn't, I want to date her.
Well, then I misread the situation, and maybe I'm glad we ended.
And Verbal moves in for the kill. Yeah.
Verbal.
No,
It
I'm
wasn't
just
like
kidding.
a closed door or anything, but she
Yeah,
wasn't like actively pursuing it.
Okay. I guess for me, there are things like, because I had seen the House of Scrolls and Loot, the other two freeholds, as places that we could see some interesting stuff happen. And as Kung Fu Fenris mentioned a while ago, there was this was the first time that I'd played with things like Quixotic,
Yeah.
a Lycian, a Korrid,
Horrid. Yeah.
right? Like, I hadn't introduced those in CTS, and that was something that I was like, oh, it might be interesting to see a Korrid again. It might be interesting to see what, and we didn't, but that's okay. I'm not like, there isn't anything about this campaign that I'm like, I have severe regret about, right? But part of me was like, oh, I wish that I'd, come up with an excuse to bring this character in more, or have more of a reason to go to the other two freeholds and spend a little bit more time talking with Buzzcut or with Standish. So that's kind of there. No, the Lycians did come out when CTS ran. The Lycians are part of the player's guide, but the player's guide only released partway through. But we did have access to things like Infusion and Tailcraft.
Yeah.
We just,
I don't think any of us
Didn't use it.
took them or to use them. Yeah.
It would have been something I would have bought like at character creation for patches.
Oh, for sure,
But by the time that it came out and I took the time to look at Infusion, it was just like, that was a direction that I wasn't going to go with it.
which I think is fair.
Yeah.
So that that's something there. But I don't know if there's anything that I'm like, I am miffed, other than I had some miserable fucking dice rolls. But but like, the thing is, that's not even something for me to be miffed about. I enjoy the randomness, that chaos or whatever, and I would much rather, I think, in a short campaign, have me be the one who fails a lot than have the players be the one who fail a lot, and then I suddenly am like, well, I've captured the three of you. Shit, like, you have to break out. But like, that's interesting, but that is just like, well, now we have to tack on a couple of episodes to get you out. You're baffled that Carlos did not kill
Fenris.
Your rolls.
That was iconic. Oh my god.
You truly had your luck zapped. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
it was pretty wild. It was a great example of life
Took your dice and microwave
mirroring
them, I
art.
swear.
Yeah, it was wild. Just, it puts me in mind of the, like, what does your mindset do to the world around you, right? I'm not getting into that, but
We have two questions from Reading Aloud.
okay.
Have you been surprised by the development of your character? Have you found your limits changed since previous games? So first, let's start with the first one. Did your character surprise you at any point? And I don't think if your answer is no, I don't think that's a bad thing. It was a shorter campaign.
Yeah.
But also sometimes you're like, I want to play a bruiser who goes out and punches people. And that's what you play.
Done.
Great.
Nothing.
Everybody looks at this.
No, nothing jumps out to me, certainly in terms of Burble. Like nothing in the development where I was like, oh, wow, he was really angry about that. Or like, a gossip monger. I never would have guessed, like, if anything, I was like less gossipy than I sort of anticipated. But no, nothing. And in terms of like finding limits changing, I have to assume that means not like lines and veils, but rather
Maybe.
perhaps. Okay.
I mean, limits include lines and veils.
Sure.
They sort of stretch to like I'm pushing my limit in that, I don't normally like playing characters who are engaged in combat. Like here, I played a combat monster and I felt good about that. Like that could also be a limit.
I think I definitely also chose to like invest in certain skills and like from a mechanical perspective, I chose to invest in certain things and made choices that were not optimal for some of the situations that we ended up in. That's how role-playing works, and I'm thrilled about it.
That's how role-playing for you works.
That is how role-playing for me works. Yes, I should be very clear. Some people love to min-max and then arrange
to find the optimal
to power game, right? And that's great.
I don't think any of you are optimal or optimized heavily along those lines.
Not unless I'm playing some video games.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's me.
No, I don't feel like I pushed in directions that were unexpected. So.
I mean, I think. Like I said this before, I chose a red cap to really challenge myself because I knew it would be hard, and for me, and I think I'm like surprised, but I'm also not so surprised that some of her like more aggressive and abrasive tendencies got sort of toned down. Because on the one hand, like, oh, that's surprising because I had a different intention, but on the other hand, I'm not surprised because I think I never quite, like, the character hadn't gotten to the click moment, and I hadn't quite found that sweet spot of like staying true to a red cap. There were moments, absolutely, but like staying true to a red cap while also being a character that people can like quasi stand to be around.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that that's something akin to what we were talking about earlier, and like, I know my lines and therefore I can focus on acting.
Yeah.
I think that if you had found the click, you might have found a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But there's definitely playing a character who is abrasive is sometimes a challenge.
Yeah.
Because you can't be so abrasive that everyone else is like, go away.
Yeah.
I hate you. Leave.
Well, it's like playing like the loner rogue character in a party of like in an adventuring party where you're just like, oh, I work better alone. It's like, well, you need a reason to be with these people, and they need a reason to want you around.
That's almost, I would argue,
like,
even more
right?
important.
Yeah.
If Mikkel was like fucking disgusting and we hated her, but she had the keys to the car that was the magical vehicle that would take us to the dreaming or some shit, I don't know, whatever, and we needed you because you had the car. That's more interesting to me.
That only
Maybe,
buys
but
you a certain amount of time.
Exactly.
Correct.
That's
And we have to
interesting for
figure
like
out how
an
to-
NPC, but for a PC who's there every single, like 3 hours, it's,
Then you
I
gotta
mean,
figure out
I
why
guess I'm
you
saying
like
I have
them.
mad respect for people who are able to play red caps as PCs because it's kind of exhausting in its own way.
Redcaps and Slua to a certain
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah. For sure.
And I think that a lot of people default to, I'm going to play the nice red cap. I'm going to play the Slua who just doesn't really care about their penalties, right? And that's a shame, I find sometimes. Sometimes, look, play the game that you want to play.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Like, if you are going to enjoy Changeling more if you play Slua and the Slua is like, I don't have a social penalty, or I'll pretend that I don't have one. Okay, Yahtzee, go for it. But the problem then ends up being that if you're playing with other people and I bring in an NPC who's a red cap or a Slua, and the Slua is just like, I'm going to be very weird. And everyone else is like, that's not like the Slua that we know. Like the Slua that we have that's a PC sitting next to me. they don't act like this. Why is your Sluis so weird? And I'm like, no, that Sluis weird.
Yeah.
I'm the normal one. And
You tell him, John.
and that's why I think that it is important to find, like what you said, is the click moment, and not finding it. I don't think I was like red alert, but at the same time, it is, I think, harder, to play certain Kith unless you can click into that moment of like, oh, this is how I simultaneously can be a red cap and also be there. And I think you were finding that, but perhaps not in the, like when you mentioned the click thing, I think that there were so many different elements. Maybe that's why the click didn't happen as early, because you were figuring out playing a red cap in a group and then not actually getting to focus on the goal.
Yeah.
Which is that's not any fault of your own. I think that that's just hard. You chose a challenge.
Yeah.
We didn't give you enough time.
Yeah, and I chose a challenge intentionally, knowing full well that there was a chance that it wouldn't get to the place that I wanted. So I'm not mad about it.
No, not at all.
NFL asks, do you
address
prefer the more
proficiency.
plot-focused kind of campaign, or would you rather have the space for more downtime scenes?
Both.
Yeah, I mean,
More like if we were to do a longer campaign, I'd want some downtime scenes for sure.
I think we actually discussed that very specifically before starting Changeling Riverwild, and we were like, no, let's make sure we have a place where we can like go and hang out, because then we can get to know the NPCs. Like, I mean, I think we all enjoy cool story moments and intrigue, a plot-focused kind of game, but like more so, around the idea of like, also we discussed that this game could be a place where we have a home base and we get to have those downtime scenes. I think we really do well with that.
But maybe we didn't have, I don't remember how many downtime scenes we had at the beginning of CTS. Like,
That's a good point.
It's sort of, I can't remember if downtime scenes come as a result of us being comfortable enough in our characters that we can just talk, or if it's the reason why we become comfortable with our characters because we just talk.
It's time for
and
a
I
full
don't
CTS
remember.
rewatch, folks. Let's go.
Because sometimes I feel like you just need to lock all of our PCs in a room and force us to talk, and then like we figure out what's important to us that way.
But then we could do that before we start streaming campaign too,
yes,
right?
We could certainly do that.
Fascinating to me.
I think that for me, I would much rather have a game where people have the room to breathe if that's what the game wants. Which is a cop-out answer, but thinking about a one-shot is that a one-shot, which we were playing a lot of before we started this campaign, one-shots you can't do that. Or rather, if you do that, then you aren't really playing a one-shot, you're playing a multi-shot.
You do.
And a lot of games aren't really equipped to deal with like, oh, you're playing for longer than 2.5 hours? There isn't enough in this game to be more than 2.5 hours. Because imagine if we were playing Fuck It's Dracula, but then
Week after week,
week after week, because every time we like had that like, oh, well, it's a new scene change. Well, hold on. We all want to like chill out by the campfire and like talk about how everything's cool and stuff. And
you gonna get drained tonight, or am I?
That is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, and I think that's one thing. I like having the opportunity to have people have downtime. As a storyteller who streams games, I always fucking panic when it happens. And then I realize, no, this is what people want, because there's always a part of me that's like, everybody wants to see the action. Nobody wants to have these just sort of like everyone's sitting around talking. And no, like that's a lie. Everybody wants to see the talking because everybody wants to like launch their fucking ships. And you can't launch ships if you don't spend some time in harbor.
Well, when we talk about the sorry to interrupt. We talk about the pacing of games and television shows and whatever, like anything that we say is like well paced, it's because there's a variety of, action heavy moments, slower, more thoughtful moments, slower, more romantic moments, whatever it is. Like the pace literally varies, and that's why it's kind of well paced. It builds well. It's exciting. I'm thinking of like Last Airbender as a great example. Things are happening, but we also get to know the characters along the way. within the structure of the episodes that they had access to, they did both of those things at the same time. It's impressive.
Do you think that there is a correlation between the amount of stress you're dealing with in your main plot to the amount of downtime scenes that you quote unquote should have?
Well, that's interesting.
Because this plot for, sport was threatened. It never...
Not sport.
It never got, like, it was a fucking great mystery. It never felt life or death. CTS, right away, we were thrown into where the hell is Zister? We have to go rescue him. Also, Brom can't remember anything about his life. So...
no big loss.
Downtime moments like that felt like oh my God, a moment to catch my breath because everything around me is so stressful right now. And I'm just kind of wondering if there is a connection there. I have no idea. I'm speculating.
No. It's a good speculation. I like it.
All I know is that anytime that we spend the majority of a session in quote unquote downtime, I panic after the first 5 minutes thinking like, uh-oh, and then inevitably they're like the episodes that everyone's like, oh yeah, this one, oh, I loved this one.
You only watched one episode of this, yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, fuck. Oh, okay. Which makes a certain amount of sense. I mean, to answer your question, NFL, I definitely think that having a game where the downtime is something that the players actively want to engage in, then I think that can be encouraged. The trick is also to just find out what kind of like game you're running and what theme you're running. Because if the theme is like 24, where it's like every fucking second counts and the game is being run in real time. I mean, the game Doom is run in real time. It has a clock, and you can take certain actions as a character. Like, you want to heal? Sure, but it'll cost you 5 minutes of real time where you can't do anything, and the clock keeps ticking down. So those kinds of games, you can't really do a whole ton of downtime unless the players are like, well, we don't really care about achieving the objective, which, hey, that's also cool. But I definitely would prefer to be able to have characters who can talk to people and engage with people and enjoy them. But it's also, bear in mind, my games, I tend to overpopulate with NPCs.
Better, honestly, yeah, better than underpopulated. If there was only one person to interact with all the time, I'd be like,
Fenris asks, did you actually achieve the goal of having a home base in this game? After all, you had double overlords like Yan and I think you mean Genuine.
yeah.
Did it ever really feel like home?
I wasn't bothered by the overlords.
Yeah, I did actually feel like it felt like a home of sorts, a home I didn't know particularly well as of yet. I just moved into my new home. But yeah, no, I think so. I think it's a good sign in a game to me where it's like, well, where are we going? Well, we're going home. Where else would we be going after we achieved an objective, right? Like, we're going back to the Freehold. I didn't find myself going like, no, I think I'd rather be at the House of Scrolls. It's really cool over there. It is really cool over there, don't get me wrong. But like, you know what I mean? It didn't bother me. Yeah.
The overlords didn't bother me at all.
No,
it was just the
cool.
fact that I didn't know the Freehold. I still felt like I was in Nexus. We discovered the Mance together, and in
you have a constant complaint about this.
Sorry, we famously spent 3 hours discovering that Mance, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
However long.
And in CTS, we had a pre-established Freehold, and it just, I don't know, like I was able to really picture it in my head. In this one, if you asked me to describe the geography of it, I still couldn't do it. And I think that was maybe like another click that just didn't happen, and probably would have eventually more time spent in it. But I didn't even think to myself, what's Mikkel's favorite room in Jan's?
The room you spent the most time in, which is the crease.
No, exactly. But I didn't identify that for myself. It was like, oh, we're back. Where am I going to go to hang out?
Where is everyone else going?
Where's everyone else going? Yeah. So for me, it didn't feel like home, but I don't think that was because there were other people in charge of it. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to ask Kate to answer this first.
Okay.
Does Burble clamber?
I don't get this reference. You cackled as soon as it went up,
Yeah,
and I
we
don't
did.
get what this
We
is.
had a-
I'm
we had
sorry.
a-
Drew
no,
crew.
not
it's
at all.
okay. It's Drew crew. I said clamber, and Scott was like, Liz, you don't pronounce the B. He's like, it's clamor. And I was like, no, it's clamber. And then, well, here's Scott.
Well, and then,
so
and
I
then the
didn't
chat-
get this
So
reference
the
either.
chat jumped to the defense of Liz. Yeah. So yeah, no, that's it. Like essentially, I was being to be honest, I was being a little snotty about it on Drew Crew because I was like, Liz, you don't pronounce the B in clamor, like because raising an alarm and like causing clamor doesn't have a hit me up.
Isn't it clamber because you're climbing, and clamor is CLAMOUR because that's
So-
noise?
Yeah.
Yes, but this is apparently pronounced climbing.
Yeah,
is
clamber.
I think it is clamber.
Clamber is how I've always said
the
it, and I was
dictionary-
just so
Oh,
relieved. Oh, I'm not going to be relieved until John
The
tells me.
dictionary says that clamber can be pronounced clamber or clamor. It can be pronounced both ways. It is a verb to climb using both feet and hands, climb with effort or difficulty, or as a noun, an act or instance of clambering. However, Kate is correct. To raise a clamor
Yeah.
is CLAMOUR.
Or you are, yeah. Which is like a.
Which is, I think, what Scott was arguing in defense of.
That's it. I also then brought up the fact that I had been raised by someone from another country who has particular ways of pronouncing things that I'm like, hang on a second.
Well, usually
says
I'm
that.
wrong. Usually I'm pronouncing something wrong my entire life. So the fact that in this case I was correct was like a very...
And clamor is spelled CLAMOR for our American friends.
I'm gonna blame my Japanese, Dutch, British, American
Damn, yeah,
hybrid
that's a win.
father and my English and French Canadian mother for why I think it's clamber.
That's a
And
lot.
or my brother who would often just, with his dyslexia, see a word, make up how it was pronounced, and say it with confidence.
Just be like, done.
Yeah.
There were words that I mispronounced for a long time because I just read a ton as a kid. And if you read a word a lot before you actually encounter it, you don't know how to pronounce it.
Oh, shit.
Which is why I said things like calm and palm as opposed to calm and palm.
Now that sounds classy as hell to me, though. I like it.
What,
English
palm?
kind of has rules and
yeah.
then ignores them
Yeah.
all the time.
That is correct. That is very correct. That said, no, I don't think.
Bro,
No, he
Clambers?
scrambles. I would say he's a scramble. Actually, what did I always say? He toddles into the room.
Toddles.
Like a little baby. That's how I always just like ready to fall over at any given instant.
especially once his luck was gone.
Oh God.
Oh, my God.
Okay, I'm gonna step out of the car. Can you roll? Oh God.
I didn't know how to
Hermione.
pronounce the name Hermione.
Of course.
My
Although-
father told me.
My mom told me.
And I had someone in my class.
It's written actually in the 4th book,
Yeah.
Goblet
Yeah.
of Fire. Hermione explains to Victor Krum
Yeah.
how to pronounce her name
Yeah.
because I think too many people didn't know how to say
Yeah.
Hermione.
That's
I was
fair.
fully ostracized in school because I was the only one saying it's Hermione. And everyone went, no, it's not. And I was like, it is.
What did they say it was?
They said
Hermione?
Hermione. Everyone said it was Hermione. And so, and yet my mom
Hermione
was
is
like,
the one I heard,
it's
yeah.
Hermione, like in A Winter's Tale. And I was like, okay.
Fucking
And Liz became a
Shakespeare dork.
Shakespeare.
She's like, it's like Hermione. It's like, it's kind of in the same way as like Persephone in its own way. Like, yeah. So, yeah,
Incredible.
but no one believed me. So it didn't matter. And I got no apology cards after the fact years later.
Rude.
Thanks.
You know, if I'm
Kids.
going to acknowledge this question, even though I feel like we answered how important are downtime scenes and sessions. I think it depends on the player group. I think for us, they are important.
Yeah.
We want them.
Yeah, we like them.
We enjoy them.
You have some things in front of you. Some slips of paper.
Cake plate? Oh, yes.
An empty wine glass, which I will be going to refill.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I want you to pick one of these pieces of paper,
Okay.
and then we'll just reveal them. And the first one is, who is the most adorable character? I should point out that in this list are the 3 PCs and the 5 NPCs that were based in Yans.
Fack.
Adorable.
I'm doing it. Doing
Ready?
it and y'all can't stop me.
All right. Let's have a look.
Pow!
So different answers
Hey!
along the board.
I was
Okay,
close to
so
Crow
why
as well,
Burble?
actually.
I just thought he was. I loved how much he loved science.
Aw.
I loved that he toddled everywhere. I loved that he wanted to match make everyone. He was just such a sweet boy.
Oh, Score isn't.
He isn't
Score's
part of
not
this
in.
list.
Put
He
Score
wasn't
in
one of
the
the OG.
You
NPCs.
feel free to write in if you need to write in. Why Crow?
Cause he was trying so hard, but he was so weak, and he was getting crushed. But he really wanted to. But he was so sweet. But he tried, and he cared. It was
Did
cute.
care.
I've never had a fan before.
Don't show up naked in my bed with flowers.
That's not canon.
Good.
It's part of a What If Wednesday situation here, yeah. And similarly, Bo also, he was real eager. He just wanted to help his best bro. Like that's the sense I got, is that he was just really, really wanted Crow to succeed and grow as a person. I love that shit.
All right. We've asked adorable. What about fuckable?
Ooh.
Now, specifically, I've used the word fuckable.
Okay, all right. I mean,
Who's the thirst trap?
bye, Crosshair.
Bye.
Be well. Sport Maury's. Yes. The Cacafuego.
I am glad that came up
Me too.
in our brief stint with the
Yeah.
red cap.
I did not plan that until I
Neither
remembered in
did
a flash. That I was like,
That it's
if
a
she's
thing.
taking a bite out of a knocker, this is
be
gonna
bad.
happen.
I'm so glad you remembered because I didn't. And then I took the bite and I was like, oh, I don't regret this. This is perfect.
All right, let's see.
I'm very curious if we're all on the same boat.
Ah.
All right, so let's hear from the Themis crew.
She's got an air of mystery. I don't know. She's competent, athletic,
Goat-like.
cool, stamina for days. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
I don't know. I didn't have a big confident answer for anyone, but if you made me pick, and that's what I picked, because fuckable specifically, not like romanceable, but fuckable.
Yeah, I didn't say romance.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I was just, I'm conflating. So I just think, she's fuckable.
What about you?
Maybe there's more to it than that, but I think she's also
If
fuckable.
I had to pick one,
Well, Liz, you're in a video game, when they say romanceable NPCs, they don't mean romance.
Yeah, exactly.
I do.
Or at least I do. Yeah, exactly.
I go for romance when it says romance.
Gas.
and the reason why I say burble is that I think he would be such a
numbers.
generous lover. I think that he would try whatever he possibly could in order to make sure that you had a great time, more so than any other character that Scott has played.
Thank you. I'm just sorry. There's like a scene playing out in my mind now that's just like, whoa, okay, you want to experiment with restraints? I've got a whole hookup next door. Literally, like, come on, I'll show you. And then he's like built a whole fucking contraption.
I want to rescind my answer. All right, now romanceable.
Okay.
Burble is spoon size.
Brul.
Burbrell.
Brel.
Please hold. No, that's fair. Here we go. Got it.
Okay, and go for it.
Pow! Do we all? Yeah! Sure.
So why?
The music, definitely the music. I always felt like I was seeing her in a clearing in a forest with like shafts of light coming down when that would play, and that she would like take care of people, right? Like she was one of her first run-ins with her, unexpected run-ins with her was like, putting a band-aid on a scraped knee. Like there was a sense of caring and sweetness, and also like, oh yeah, well I am a she, but I'm not that strict about like being a lady, like, which definitely is very much romanceable NPC energy.
Yep.
yes. Cool girl vibes, which I'm,
Except
so
that
to speak.
she was bandaging somebody after she ravaged.
A bunch of others.
Boy,
Rabbit
we
is
didn't
free.
see that though.
My character may be silly, but I'm not.
Hey.
Your character is Sealy? Mm-hmm. Oh.
Wait, hang on. I thought we had.
Oh no,
No,
Oh, yeah.
never mind.
I was gonna say like you were Sealy. What?
Don't I have the Sealy
It's
coat?
not what we
printed out here?
discussed.
I don't know.
You had both, maybe?
I don't know. At some point,
feel
maybe
like
I
you were just
considered
kinda
being
walking the
Sealy.
line.
Yeah, I didn't have the time to
Yeah.
drive down those paths too much.
Is that basically the concurrent answer on Genwi?
Yeah. Like, she's a she. She's got the shaft of light in the forest, and kind of mood, but she's approachable. I think for me that's a
Yeah.
big thing as well. If an NPC is like, oh, I'm interested in learning more about this NPC, they have to be approachable. You could
Yeah,
put
you
someone on a
genuinely felt like you
pillar.
could just go and talk to her.
Yeah, I did. We all
We
did.
all watched.
We all did. Yeah, that was
Also,
very
there's a
interesting
level of
because-
sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
There's a level of self-awareness there with her being like, oh, I couldn't do a great job running this freehold, so I'm gonna let Jan do it. I know that a lot of people would interpret that as her like shirking her duty or whatever, but I actually see that as the
Maybe it
freehold's
was.
in much better hands if he's in charge of the day-to-day.
But her she-ness came out in a couple of ways, and I'm just wondering whether I didn't push it as hard as I could have. Because, like, there was that moment where you were interrogating somebody, and she showed up, and she was like, I dressed up like an unseelie princess.
That was when Mikkel fell in love with her a little bit, little crush. That's when it.
And she was like, okay, well, if we're going to throw down, I'm going to be an unseelie fucking, like, noble. Let's go. And then you were like, we got this. And she was like, okay. I don't have to worry about it. I'm just going to go change
she
back
could
in
have
my
stayed
jeans.
around.
I assumed she was getting dressed for some meeting. Like, I did not click that was for this. I definitely thought that it was completely unrelated.
Yeah, I
thought
think
she had plans.
similarly, maybe not similarly, but like I thought she was making a point. It's like, okay, point's been made. I don't need to do anything else. I just feel like maybe the danger around Genwi was like off in the distance. I was never worried for my safety in Genwi's presence.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes a hint of
Maybe you
danger could be a
should.
little. Yeah, exactly. Maybe a hint of danger is sometimes a little like, ooh.
All right. Remembering your Ignite PC, which character in this list
Oh, God.
would your character be most likely to want to destroy?
Like kill or F?
Destroy, not F. Kill,
Murderize.
kill, wreck their life, ruin their social standing, tear them from limb. But we're not talking about erect get. Although we can answer that question later if you want.
Yeah, who would they most likely want? Who would their most likely sexual partner?
And I know that all three of you are just gonna flash bow like right across, right? Like
Nice. Yeah. Hey, he appeals to everybody.
Brahms,
Bows
like
for
I could
everybody.
get into that.
But I needed a change. Yeah.
I've never been with a troll.
Had any of us? I'm trying to remember that list now. If we ever crossed troll off the list.
No, Troll and Autumn She were.
Right, because we were
I
gonna.
kept telling you guys
Sophia and
have sex.
Prom were gonna have sex just to
Sorry.
cross it off the list, and then I
The
was
classic,
like,
like
it's
if we're
weird.
both still single at 40.
We were both married at 25.
Exactly.
What do you mean? Actually, no, I was older, but like,
I was 28, yeah.
so funny.
All right.
Yeah.
Who would your PC be most likely to destroy? Let's go.
Pow.
Oh, can't see what Kate's
That's because
says.
I left it blank. Because honestly, like I can't see Patches wanting to destroy any of these people.
63 book. Whereas I think I was like, well, if I'm
He's
gonna pick
85.
somebody, it's going to be the woman who shat on my wife.
Woo! I didn't shit on her. I shit
Near,
adjacent
around.
to her.
It's disgusting.
My
Sorry.
hero.
Look, I reduced her to a bloody paste on the pavement. Is that not what you wanted?
It's just what I was hoping for.
I was thinking I could,
But, yeah.
like, could Mikkel have eaten Whisper? Like, if she tried really
Oh,
hard.
God. Good question. Can you eat a treasure?
Yes, you can.
Yikes.
Kiss your fucking toothpick goodbye.
Toothpick.
Not unless he
they'd be-
activates it while it's in your mouth.
They'd definitely be more resistant. It would take you a lot longer, and like even after swallowing it, there'd be a good chance that you could try to rescue it by like cutting you open and taking it back out.
Jonah and the whale stuff.
Yeah, like you would have a harder time
Okay,
doing it.
whatever.
But yeah, I don't think there's anything against eating treasures for red caps.
But that said, legitimately, I do agree with Kate. Like,
I believe the only thing you can't eat is cold iron. You can even eat like nuclear waste, but it costs you glamour
Nice.
to do so.
Work.
Work.
Work. But similarly to what everyone else has said, I don't think Sophia would actually, based on what we saw in Riverwild, she doesn't have enough ammunition to want to kill anyone, want to destroy anyone. Bo has the biggest potential to align himself with a charismatic baddie, I would say. Or
he could have been taken in.
He could be he could go bad, but then be really smug, and Sophia hates smugness.
It's true. I do have an addictive personality when it comes to people who enable my ability to feel like I am strong and useful.
So that was just a guess if things took a turn with
Am I also the one you destroy if destroy meant something else?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe.
I really doubt that. I somehow doubt that anybody could find me attractive in that way. Except for maybe Saley.
Oh, that's nice.
No.
Oh.
It's not nice when Saley likes
It's
anybody.
not nice.
It gets creepy.
It is not nice.
When the inevitable happens and sport returns, everybody's happy and all that, which character is the one who is most likely to show up on television in an embarrassing circumstance?
Because of the Freehold sort of presence in the city and stuff?
No.
Okay.
Not necessarily. Which one is the one most likely to end up on television for an embarrassing reason?
No, I'm doing it. Okay.
Kate looks satisfied.
No.
We're still taking questions, by the way, folks. If you have questions about the campaign or honestly anything, just toss them out there. If you put an exclamation mark and a Q, the letter Q, and then a space, it'll show up in my queue automatically. Otherwise, I can just pull it from what we've got going on here. Ready?
Yes.
And go.
Pow! Yes. I was considering Burble pretty strongly as well. So that's
Burble, Mickle, Burble. What do you have, Bo?
I have Bo. For me, just because I'm the odd person out here, I think Bo is very likely to be caught live on tape being like, yo, welcome to Jan's, whoa, and then knock the camera into a fucking fish tank that's there for some reason,
All right, I brought my aquarium in because I thought that people would be interested in meeting my betta fish.
Exactly.
Oh no.
Except I call them alpha fish, obviously.
Actually, they're more sigma fish.
Oh, sigma fish. I like it.
I gotta say,
Yeah,
sigma, I'm not even a huge fan of the whole alpha male or
like it,
beta
yeah.
or whatever, but sigma male, just
It's really gross, yeah.
I'm an alpha male, but I don't actually need anybody else. It's just okay, so you're a smug alpha.
That's correct.
Yep. Why Burble?
Um,
Actually, why am I asking that question?
Hey.
That's what I would have answered.
No, I'll allow it.
I think that Burble was really clever and intelligent, but also very good at coming off as kind of the stereotypical dorky nerdy.
Sure.
So I feel like there would be a context in which he'd be really excited about sport, but it would come off in a way that
Sport.
teens on the internet would be like #cringe, just because he was being enthusiastic or some shit, right? They'd be like, oh my god, he cares. #cringe. Ugh. Like that.
Burble's the guy who would release I saw a TikTok of this guy's English teacher rapped Beowulf so you could know what it sounded like in the pre-Middle
shit.
Ages.
Oh,
I'm like
my
that, but
God.
it's regardless of whether or not it's good. Someone on the internet's gonna be like, that's really cringy because to some people it is. Burble's that
They
guy.
wouldn't say that's really cringy. They would say that's really cringe.
I know they
because
would.
they've
But I'm correcting the teens of today. Are you watching me?
Oh,
Are you
dear.
listening to me?
Area man
they've
destroyed on
adjectived
TikTok.
that verb.
That's fair. It's super cringe.
Just judging by what we've seen, I mean, Det was playing a perfectly respectable game of hockey, and we were up in the stands, dive tackling audience members and spilling nachos and shooting t-shirt cannons. So
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it does
It's-
sound like a good time.
if sport became more of a thing, I just feel like it would be that classic moment of like, let's take a moment to look at the audience response, and there's just like us, and like there's just just beating the shit out of somebody, like
no, stop,
just all the wrong reasons, and yet
And
it would always be us there
Chomping
and,
on
like,
someone's
eating
arm,
someone's arm off. Yeah, that's
Crazed woman bites spectator.
Or you've got like the whole tray of popcorns and you're just like trying to like
fit it all
tilt
in
it
my
on your
mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebels
I need a
classes are
funnel.
pretty-
If your character had to roll 10d10, which dice would they roll?
I'm sorry. Do you mean like which die here?
Which of these
Where would they get these dice? Where would they?
where would they
find-
get them?
Yeah, where would they find dice to play?
Burble enjoys, getting things that are custom made because they're of quality, and that means that you can get those D10s at, custom made. Dice by any file is the best place to get your D10s.
Unbelievable.
I know.
What about
What a segue.
Mikkel? Where
What
would
a
she get
segue.
her dice?
Oh, don't do it 3 times. Oh God.
I feel like they would be
Honestly, probably a
among
bargain
things that I'd eaten the day before, so I would just sort of like reach down and pull them up. Like, hey, where'd this come from? Nice.
I ate one of those D&D nerds the other day. Don't you have some dice in
Would
there?
it be D&D, Scott? Come on, it's
They have-
D10.
They have a D10 in the thing, don't they?
Yeah,
D&D?
Yeah, they do.
uses-
I haven't
They have
played
a
Dungeons
10
and Dragons in
and
ages,
a
but
100 percentile.
Yeah.
I thought it was D20 in D&D.
Oh yeah,
That's
as well.
a
That's the
primary.
primary.
There's
die.
also like 4,
but they
6,
also
8,
roll all
10.
the other dice.
Yeah. Yeah, you get one of each.
All right.
Anyway,
20,
you're
12,
eating
10.
a
Well,
child.
I need to eat 10
Yeah.
D&D nerds then. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Why not?
I think Det would do what I did just before we got these sweet dice by NFL, which is go to a gaming shop and rustle through the entire fucking bin for like 15 minutes trying to get a full set and end up with one D100 because there weren't 10 of the same, but they were really pretty and she wanted them. Okay, this is what Kate did. But
John and I looked at games.
yeah, you were very polite and ignored the fact that I was going,
Yeah, pawing through these
ages.
dice thing like a
Fucking ages.
manic raccoon.
I know. They're so pretty.
Where are they all? Oh, we had some, but we just tossed them in the bin. You're like,
John, have you ever played this game before?
No,
My goodness.
look at these magnets.
oh, tea with Elizabeth. What a wonderful sounding board game. God.
Yeah.
Scott, what have you been doing to prepare to take over as storyteller?
Reading, writing, and thinking. The 3 R's. I have been reading Blades in the Dark, Bitte, if you will. I have been writing thoughts and feelings I have as to, I've been trying to sort of draw inspiration from the setting to think of character. I don't want to get into the situation that we unfortunately put you in sometimes, John, where we need a name for a cool NPC. Like, you create a cool NPC, and then we're like, what's your name there, buddy? And, kids just like, Jake, or whatever, which was a good name, but you know what I'm saying. I don't want to get into that position. I want to make sure that I've got some names and and then there's whole tables of them there, which is also awesome. I love that. And I've been doing some writing of ideas that I have for session concepts that might be cool, and I've been doing a lot of thinking as well, because I'm the kind of creator who does a first draft really fast, throws it in the back burner, and walks away for 3 years. And then comes back and goes, what the hell is this? And eliminates it all. But that doesn't work for this sort of thing. Angel Wick.
Yes.
Yes. We'll recap this at the end of the stream as well. After today, we're taking 3 Sundays specifically off from streaming on RPG Clinic. We're still going to have streams throughout the week, including here on RPG Clinic, so that in, I guess then 4 weeks' time, we can come back and bring you a mini campaign of Blades in the Dark, as run by moi, but with these 3 players. And I am really jazzed about it. Yeah, I'm excited to certainly I'm excited to turn my hand to something slightly longer form, see how that development goes, see what it's like being on the other side of the table. I'm curious what kind of new relationships will develop as well. It's gonna be fun.
I might ask Kate out.
Oh damn!
Did I say that out loud? Shit.
Oh, now it's recorded forever. Ding! Oh, who that from?
I don't know. Apparently not
I'm
done.
not sure who that's from. Yeah.
The plan is that we'll run clinic hours at least over the next couple of Thursdays, and maybe one will actually be run by Scott. Not this week.
Correct. I'm busy.
This week, the only thing that might be a little off, shall we say, is that we normally run RPG Clinic's clinic hours on Thursdays. Thing is, I'm starting a new job tomorrow. And with a new job, I have to make sure that my schedule will allow me to run when I normally would have run clinic hours. But I'm only going to know that once I've had like a couple of days on the job. So if I can't run it on Thursdays the way that I normally want to, then I will run it on Friday early, like noon.
Oh, damn.
Or something. Yeah, like maybe more like 1. But like before Punchy.
To try to get a whole bunch of time zones kind of struck.
Yeah, we're still going to, because I want to make sure that we have some RPG Clinic content for you. And if it's not on Thursday, we'll just make it on Friday.
Getting some nice congrats in the chat there, John.
Yeah, I realized I mentioned this on my own personal channel. I'm starting a new job at Eidos Montreal. So I'm moving back to AAA game development. Hooray!
It's very cool.
I will be lead narrative designer at Eidos Montreal, which I'm very much looking forward to, and I find out about that tomorrow. Angelwick is interested in seeing the exchange and game runner person.
Yeah.
We've all taken turns being in the chair, as it were, although some of the, because you mentioned earlier one-shots, John, like some of the one-shots that we've run have been more involved, less involved, more collaborative in terms of the storytelling, or more kind of fleshed out in advance, or whatever. So I think that will be a really interesting shift to see how my style meshes with that concept. I don't know.
Oh boy.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's going to be I'm confident it's going to be a lot of fun, and I am personally really looking forward to our session zeros and so on, the work that we're going to be doing off stream in the 3 weeks that we're not streaming, to make sure that we've got some cool stuff coming to you that I will be sure to tease before we go live.
We also have games that we are planning on after Blades in the Dark. Like we have a game that we're like almost certain that we're going to do, and then we have a couple of games that we're deciding between for what comes after that. Mm-hmm. There is also additionally games that we're like, oh, we're super excited about these. They don't exist yet in a playable form that we have access to, so we'll have to wait.
Blades in the Dark will start October 16th. Mm-hmm. We're looking at roughly 6 sessions, but much like these campaigns, we want to allow ourselves the flexibility that, if we solve everything in 3 sessions and we're happy with it, then fine. And if it takes us 8 or 10, then fine.
Oh, you guys brought the sun back already. Okay, all right. Jeez. I guess that's it.
Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You all failed at everything and you exploded the universe.
You're all dead,
oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Oh, don't talk about universe exploding around Scott. It's a sore subject. We finished Mass Effect on Friday.
Oh.
Way to fucking go, by the way.
Can we, if I may, it's really fun.
Spoilers, I guess?
Spoilers for
They
Mass
exploded the
Effect, which is very briefly at the end of Mass Effect 3, we were given options of what to do, and in the chat, a couple people were like, "Oh, the avatar of this kid didn't give you this other option. I guess you didn't have enough whatever points." And I was like, "Yeah, you stupid kid!" And I turned around and I shot the avatar of the kid. To which the avatar was like, "So be it." And the game goes to like worst ending possible. You fuck it up, everybody's dead. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's straight up game over.
It's so punchy.
It was so
punchy, though.
Exactly. And that's why no one was mad. We were ecstatic, in fact, because Scott has now been streaming as Punchy for so long that you did the most punchy thing imaginable. Yeah. It was perfect.
Oh, that's so good.
I should have known the game would wouldn't have my back on that choice.
There's no room for thinking when you're.
Are you intending to go back and looking at the other endings?
We'll probably watch them on YouTube. I don't think we'll play them.
I don't know if it's
my God.
necessary to play them if it's essentially a cutscene, right? I might be wrong, but I feel like
The
But
three
you can
of-
see your character with like. Now, I don't think I've ever seen your Mass Effect 3 incarnation, but I remember how weird and glowy your scars were in Mass Effect 2.
We kept trying to out renegade ourselves.
hair looked really
Like,
good though.
Yeah.
Our face was like more red than anything else because of all our scars. It was so good.
A lot of scars.
There is an option to get like cosmetic surgery to remove the scars, even if you are going renegade, and they did not.
We did
Of
not take
course
that.
not. Chicks dig scars.
Anyway, yes, you can't mention
Glowy-
Universe
It's actually a
Explorer.
mechanic that I have some issue with, because if you go Paragon, the scars start to naturally like lessen, and I'm like, that seems odd. That like your physical beauty, quote unquote,
Your
is
inner
potentially
goodness
tied
is closing
to,
your outer ugliness.
Yeah,
Like, what
especially
the
because
hell
the
is
point
that
of
all
Paragon
about?
versus Renegade is not one is good and evil. It's just one of them is like, I play by my own rules, and one of them is like, I'm more of a noble.
Seelie
it's all-
unseelie.
It's very much Sealy and
Sealy
Unsealy.
unsealy.
Yeah.
You know,
that
put
was
us in a council
change.
situation and we will yell at them until
Yeah.
they agree with
Be
us.
the change you want to see in the world, you know? And if that change is very, very negative.
Anyway.
Good times. That's a neither here nor there.
That said, the combination of Blades in the Dark and a few one-shots and or mini campaigny things should take us to the end of the year. Plans for 2023 are very much dependent on what goes on in the gaming universe and in
Yeah.
our personal worlds.
Exactly.
A lot of it is going to depend on what we personally are interested in playing. Who knows? We may start floating ideas out there. The best place to look would be on the Discord to see what we may or may end up deciding on doing. And some of it is also going to depend on how Blades in the Dark goes. Like, if we absolutely adore Blades in the Dark and we decide that we just want to play that forever, then fucking okay.
Yeah.
But
Forever.
we do have some things. We have some things. Things. But it is true that we had this mentioned, that Angelwick is interested in seeing the exchange in Game Runner person. So that's it for me in this chair for a while.
It's true.
Gasp.
True.
Suppose it is. Thank you. Can you mute me for a moment,
Oh.
please?
Oh, I still have one more question.
Oh.
Who was Jen Wee having dreams about?
I also wanted to
Herbal.
answer this question. Oh,
You're fucking
shit.
kidding, really?
Oh!
Nice.
For
Here, I'll
fuck's
come on.
sake.
Do you want more information about that?
Not particularly. No, I'll take it. Yeah.
She was having dreams about Burble because she had a meeting with the two of you and was like, okay, and that was good. Like, she liked both of you. And then there was this moment where she was like, but what about Burble?
And that had the great scene together where we were all pressed up against the glass eating popcorn.
There is that too.
Creepin'.
So the thing is that she had met Burble first.
How I Met
that's
Your
why.
Burble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Proceed.
While the swap is happening, we played Exalted Essence in its incomplete early release Kickstarter form, and we definitely will put it back on the potential list once. Do you want to put on his mic or? Once once it's in a more completed format. There were just enough things to be worked out that
Oh, dear.
Okay, I'm gonna have to.
yeah.
My
have a small head
headset
as well,
microphone
yeah.
is larger
Yes.
because I have a big ass head.
Yeah.
Look at John over there in the screen.
Love that.
Love that for him.
Oh, yeah, you guys can boop each other now.
I will reach you.
Ah! Keep my foot extended for you there, Liz. Very good. Very good. I believe, unless there are any final questions, comments, or concerns, I believe that brings us to the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. Rise the Empire!
Ah, shit.
Oh, the names are wrong.
A monster's
Not
been
from a
created.
Jedi.
Oh yeah.
The raggarts have begun.
So with one of these,
Oh.
because it's not.
Please make sure you only put it to P and not R.
Whoa, what's R do?
Record.
Close. Thank you. I've never seen one of those before.
Did we
With
get
a
through
honk.
all the questions?
I think
I guess so.
don't see any more in the
You.
the queue. Exactly.
Although Scruff the Magic Dragon has asked a question.
I addressed it while you guys were switching seats.
This is accurate.
If you were to go back to Exalted, any particular Exalt types catching your eye?
Yeah. But I don't know if we should say it.
I think you can say.
I think we can talk about what's catching our eye. Yeah, Liz, what's catching your
We're
eye?
not making any commitments.
I think that Exigence and Lunars are fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, thoughts? Yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed. John, any particular Exalt types catching your eye?
If I was playing,
Yeah, if you were playing.
Exigence seems like it would be a really interesting design challenge right alongside like a fantastic role-playing opportunity.
Yeah, I think for me in particular, Exigence sound really awesome, but I would want it to be. I would be tempted to pick an Exigent of something dumb and then regret it
Like
immediately.
like the Chosen of Sex Toys or something like that.
Exactly, right? Something, I mean, that would be awesome. Let's be real.
That would be
also
amazing.
straight up Sidereals. I would be excited to play
Yeah.
You would be
Sidereals.
such a good
I would love
Sidereal.
that.
You
You know I would.
I tell you. This was like a really giggly one.
Sidereals isn't yet available as a playable thing. Exigence at least has the manuscript for their Kickstarter.
Which is very cool.
That's why Scott's writing it from scratch.
The Maiden of Journeys, me, Jory.
Jorik's
So-
back.
So we're basically all interested in playing Celestial level Exalted.
Right. I think that brings us to the end of the FroYo kind of session that we had planned. There's always streams going on throughout the week, although sometimes the schedule gets a little messed up. What do we have going on this week? On Tuesday, I stream over at twitch.tv/BiffTheBoss. I'm not sure if we're returning to Disco Elysium yet, or if it's time to start something even more new and exciting. I always have a great time on Method Madness, and I think y'alls should come and join me if it's appropriate for your time zone and where you live. Wednesday?
Yay. For those who follow me know that the True Light is available. On Wednesday, I'll be playing Cult of the Lamb. This is, of course, assuming that my work schedule will allow me to do it. Don't worry, there will be streams from me. I have no reason to believe that work will make this impossible. It's my first week. I gotta figure out exactly what the work hours are going to be, etc., etc., etc. But assume that on Wednesday I will be playing Cult of the Lamb, where if you have not yet already joined my flock, you'll be able to either through joining through Twitch integration, or if nobody can join through Twitch integration, I'll just manually add you because I can do that. It's been a lot of fun so far. We've had a lot of resurrections and a lot of deaths.
Will you have a wedding this week, maybe?
I'm not allowed to have weddings.
What do you mean?
I
What'd
didn't
you
pick
choose
that
instead?
doctrine.
What did you choose?
I don't remember what the other doctrine
Probably
was.
more death.
No.
I know you. Probably more death.
Fight to the death.
Thursday, as previously mentioned, is to be confirmed. Exact timing for an RPG clinic hours session. But there will be one probably on Thursday, to be confirmed on the Discord. Friday.
No. There will be Punchy. Maybe we'll start Guardians of the Galaxy.
As has been destined.
As has been destined. So that's on Friday.
Saturday is up in the air. Unfortunately, I have forgotten I have a potential commitment that day, a casual prep for a world's level card game tournament I am attending. We are attending, my apologies.
Yeah.
If we're not free to start the next Drew Crew, I will play Cult of the Lamb as well.
The thing is, I kind of riot. I kind of really want to start Drew Crew too.
Well,
so
yeah.
it's tough. It's a tough decision.
Scott will let us
You're
know.
going to Worlds. It may behoove you to try to have a
practice
little bit of
once.
practice. So that you don't show up to Worlds and immediately just completely embarrass yourself.
Literally, I'm going to play a card and
And
be
your
like, how does this work?
teammates.
What does this one do? Oh, yeah, actually, because we play on a team too. But that also takes us through Saturday nights.
There'll be something on Saturday.
Oh, yeah, of
don't worry about
course. But that means that Sunday and the following 2 Sundays, there will be no streams here on RPG Clinic as we prepare for the new era of the Empire. As we prepare for, thank you, Blades in the Dark. Details naturally forthcoming. Join the Discord community if you want to know more. I'm sure we're going to be chatting all about it in there. But we are very much looking forward to bringing you that content starting October 16th. that's all? Not quite. If you love the dice that we've been playing Changeling Riverwild with, you can get some yourself. And specifically, if you go and follow NFIL on Twitter right now, she's got a giveaway going on. A giveaway.
Yeah. I think it's a
competition.
follow and retweet, and you can get a whole lot of money worth of dice. It's not just like one; it's like a whole set worth.
We really love
so
them,
great.
and our
They've got sharp
there
edges.
as well. They're really
You could
nice.
kill someone with it
I wouldn't.
in a good way.
want you to,
pretty. You're so pretty.
Scott, I think you're gonna have to find whatever close out you want to do here.
Yeah, I
You're
will
gonna-
have to.
You gonna keep the same one, or are you gonna?
No,
Go your own way.
I think it's important because it's part of the. It's not just your brand; it's like the brand, right? So,
You can go your own way.
but I won't go my own way. When you are, whether you're rolling dice or just having a good time with your friends, there's only one direction where those things happen, and it's this way. And then it's tease it this
Yes.
way. I'll see you later, guys. Bye.
Bye. Oh, I have to do the bye now.
The button isn't working. The button isn't working. You're gonna have to manually mouse over.
I don't know how anything works. Is it off the side of the screen? I got it.